The report we launched today as Amnesty International highlights the human rights situation across the world. But for us as Zimbabwe, we also spotlight the human rights situation in Zimbabwe in 2023. In terms of our findings, we observed that there was repression of dissent in Zimbabwe in 2023, particularly during the election period. We picked up the issues relating to the severe curtailment of freedom of association, assembly, and expression. We took note of some of the cases that emerged within the context, cases such as the arrest of the 6 students from University of Zimbabwe for protesting the prolonged incarceration of political activists such as Job Sikala and Jacob Ngarivume. These students were denied bail, spent some weeks in pre-trial detention, but they were subsequently released. As we speak right now, the charges that were being preferred against them were subsequently withdrawn. We also picked up cases of the use of the justice system to persecute political activists. And in this regard, we spotlight cases such as Fadzaima Harris' case, where she was convicted for publishing falsehoods, despite the fact that it was very clear that that particular offense is no longer part of the criminal system in Zimbabwe. But she was convicted, sentenced to paying a fine of $500. This year again, that conviction was overturned and she was acquitted. We highlight the case of Jacob Ngarivume, who was convicted and sentenced to 48 months in prison for allegedly inciting violence following calls that he allegedly made for protests in July 2020. Jacob Ngarivume subsequently served 8 months in prison before the High Court then also overturned that conviction. So what we see is a pattern where the law or the justice system is being used to persecute political activists in 2023. We also took note of cases of torture and abductions, particularly after the August 2023 election, where about 4 people were allegedly abducted and tortured by alleged state security agents, people like Takuzo Ngadzore, James Chidakwa, Womberai Shenende, Sonele Mkuhlani, and also Tafumane Masaya, who subsequently passed away as a result of the torture. So those are some of the cases that we highlight specifically as they relate to civil and political rights. But we also highlight issues to do with the women and girls' rights, and we specifically zero in on sexual and reproductive health rights, where we took note of the fact that the government did not amend the Public Health Act so that children would be able to access sexual reproductive health services without the consent of their parents. This is an issue of concern because we have noted that a number of children now end up with STDs or HIV or early pregnancies because of their failure to access sexual and reproductive health services. We also spotlight the issue of obstetric fistula, which is a condition that women develop when during childbirth, which is an issue that is of interest to us because we conducted research around this issue. It highlights how women's rights are infringed in the process when they develop this condition, but which is a condition that is preventable, and it arises in situations where they cannot access emergency obstetric care. So what we are highlighting is the need for adequate, what we highlight in that report is the need for adequate budgetary provisions for maternal health care and for government to take action to prevent obstetric fistula. In the same report, we also highlight positive developments around the amendment to the Children's Act, which also then clarified the issue of children being people who are below the age of 18 years. So these are some of the issues that we picked up from our analysis of the human rights situation in 2023.
So what engagements have you done with the government, especially the Minister of Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, pertaining the issues which you have just raised of abductions and other related issues?
The issues that we raised in this consolidated report are issues that we have raised in previous reports, where we have spotlighted these issues, put them in the public domain, and even campaigned in certain cases. We will refer specifically to the issue of torture and abductions. We did a campaign called Right for Rights in respect of Cecilia, Johanna and Netai at some point, where we were calling upon the government to look into this case. So we have put these reports in the public domain. We have made calls through press releases, calling upon the government to address some of these issues.
Plan in order to really make sure that these issues are properly addressed?
Yes, we do plan to engage with the various stakeholders from parliament to government to just spotlight these issues, also highlight to them how these issues could be addressed. And as an organization, we will continue to campaign for the protection and promotion of human rights.